Good morning, everyone. I guess since it's 10 o'clock, we're going to start. And I'm not going to share a lot of stuff with you because I'm going to leave that to Tiffany and Kurosh. But as you know, the Feds are meeting today. And my feeling is that they're not going to do anything with the interest rates. However, interest rates have not necessarily gone down. I just was talking to our mortgage guys, and it's hanging around in the upper sixes right now. So we're hoping that if the Feds don't raise the rates again, maybe we get a little bit of a relief on that. But having said that, I think this month has been quite interesting because we had the debt ceiling issue that was resolved. Everybody thought that we're going to default on our debt, and that didn't happen. And I've been visiting some of the offices in the last couple of weeks, and I think one of the biggest issues I see in our industry is lack of knowledge of what's going on. For instance, as you know, Zillow is changing their lead situation with the agents in North Carolina. A lot of agents don't know about that, but it's not a disastrous thing. There are alternatives that we're going to discuss today. And also, some people know a little bit about what's going on as far as the DOJ's, the lawsuits that's pending. I guess it's called the Moheri, I believe, lawsuit that is, they're suing the large real estate firms like Remax, KW, Coldwell Banker, all the big ones, because of the commission issue. Again, that's something that we're looking into, and it's going to go to court sometime, either the first quarter of next year or the second quarter. So our job as the leadership is to kind of look out for you guys, but unless you actually attend these monthly meetings, you won't know anything about it. And so I encourage you, for those of you that see other agents in your offices, to please encourage them to once a month for an hour, put aside for this meeting so that we can educate you in what's going on in the market. I'm very optimistic personally. Yes, there is a lack of inventory, still multiple offers happening. And when I talk to our different markets, they all have the same issue. However, the interest rate, in my opinion, is not an issue. I think the inventory is an issue. And I always say there are a lot of houses being sold. The question is who's selling them. So with that being said, I think we've taken care of the technical issue. I'm going to let, I don't know if it's going to be Tiffany or Kurosh going to start next.
Kurosh should take it away momentarily.
Thanks, Tiffany. Can you guys hear me? Just check and make sure the mic works.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen. Forgot to do the sharing first. Almost there. Can you confirm one more time if you can see my screen and you can hear me?
Yeah, we can see and hear your screen.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. I think James is going to get my video there. Too much technology. So I am here today at the Ballantyne office at the Charlotte location. We got a group of our brokers for a lot of you that are joining us streaming live today. This is a beautiful day, so we're just going to talk about the market, dive into the industry, and we want to do it a little bit different today. I had some conversations with some of you guys, some team leaders, some agents about some of the announcements we heard this month, specifically Zillow and the portal. So I want to talk about that too. Okay. The technology. We're going to go to the next slide from here. Okay. There we go. So good news is that the inflation is finally showing signs of calming down a little bit. I'm sure you've heard the headlines. There's a lot of talk about it. We made great progress. If you look at where we started at almost 10% inflation rate, double-digit inflation rates that we've never had. We had to go through a lot of heartache and a lot of changes in the market. And now we are experiencing 4% inflation, which is still not what the Fed wants. Fed's still aiming for the 2%, so their work is not done. But this is great progress. This was announced this week. So it's going to make a difference for the Fed making the decision. As you know, today, we're going to hear about the Fed and their decision on the hikes. There's a lot of different predictions out there. Some people believe that we got 2 more rate hikes between now and the end of the year. I think that they're going to pause today, but I have no doubt we're going to have 1 more in July, because there's going to be another meeting in July. The numbers, what Fed is looking at, we talked about it last month, specifically is the employment numbers. And the employment numbers are still very strong. And I think June is going to be another strong month for employment. So these numbers are going to be out before their next meeting in July. I think at least another 25 basis points is coming next month. But hopefully they're going to pause for June, and that will send a very strong signal to the economy. So now let's get to the housing business. We heard last year that, we had a lot of relocation. Still the headline, America in the Move. There's still a lot of relocation happening. I'm sure some of you experienced that. Referrals that you're getting, clients that are moving to this area, right? They're buying homes cash, probably. The numbers are showing that. Here's Redfin did a study, showed that almost 1/3 of all Americans are thinking about relocating. 32%. The estimates of migration inflows suggest a continuation of the pandemic era. So the work is not done. We're still having a lot of people moving, and they're moving not only between one city to another city, they're moving statewide. So let's take a look at that migration pattern. I'm gonna have to move this so you guys can show. Okay, let's see. So this chart, as you can see, shows that the typical migration in our business in real estate, when people move, we always thought that it's going to be between 10 to 15 miles. That was the average. The people switch neighborhoods, but they want to stay in the same district. But that changed, obviously, after COVID. And look, in 2022, the average distance of people moved to find their next home was 50 miles. What's interesting was about 1/4 of those buyers, they moved 470 miles to find their next home. So some long distance, right? Let's look at these different types of buyers and why they moved. So as you can see, the green bar is all the buyers in the market, and the blue reflects the ones that they took that long haul to find their next home. And starting on the top, being closer to family and friends was the main reason for people to take those relocations. Moving from Ohio to North Carolina, moving from Cincinnati to North Carolina. And then the second one on the list is retirement. Obviously, we are seeing that some of the states are getting a lot of people moving there. Florida, right? We have a lot of people moving to Florida, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina. And then you got schools, desire to own a home, and job relocation on the list. As far as buyers overall, obviously finding the right house, finding the house that they desire was the main reason for them to move. But they're willing to go another 50 miles down, basically down, to find something that fits their needs, whether it's size, whether it's school location. But why this is important, I'm going over this, because I think for us that we're in one of these states, look at the top states with the largest net gain of people moving. Florida on the list, and there's North Carolina, and here's South Carolina, number 8. So these are the top states as far as net gain of people moving. Why is it important for us? Focusing on referral has never been more important than today. So this is something that don't lose sight on that. In addition to the migration of people, look at the migration of businesses. A lot of people are moving headquarters. And it's started looking at going from 1994 all the way to 2021. See a spike here in the past 3 years, and people are actually moving their companies a lot more than before. And this is about 7,000 companies move each year. Again, this is a time, in my opinion, to focus more on the network of referrals and the people you know. Need more agents to agreements. Every opportunity you get. This month we have a luxury forum. Some people will think about, I don't like this location, or it's hot. I don't know, I've been there. I think you should consider one main reason to go there. That's networking with other brokers. Every opportunity you get, because it's a cookout, it's a training, it's a conference. You saw the stats. You know, 1/3 of people are thinking about moving and where they're going to our markets, right? So here's an opportunity for you to meet other agents. Think about 140,000 agents. There is not another network as strong as RE/MAX when it comes to referrals.
I had something interesting happened last week.
Sure.
I was in Mexico, and in the compound, I call it, where I stay, there's a RE/MAX.
Sure.
And so the gentleman that I rent from called me this morning and asked me if I would be interested in listing some of his properties in Mexico.
That's amazing.
So,
Yeah, these referrals are happening. Their referrals are happening not only just in the United States, but globally. RE/MAX has a global platform. If you want to sign up, if you go on Max Center, there's a global platform where you can find agents in other countries and exchange referrals. Again, leverage that. It is important. It's never been more important in our business as it is today. Real estate still is strong. There are people. This was a survey done to see what percentage of people think that the real estate is still the best investment. 34% of all the people, they still think that real estate is the best long-term investment anybody can make. And then next to that is gold. You got stocks and mutual funds, saving accounts, and bonds at 7%. So we know that the consumers still believe in investment in real estate. Then why is it hard? When I talk to many of you, so it's hard these days to sell real estate, right? Why is it hard? It seems so hard to sell real estate in this market. Is that a question that crossed your mind? Because I hear this a lot. But a few things change. I think the characteristics of the market significantly. You got to think about if you compare this market to 2021 or 2020. Obviously, the transaction count is not there. But why the transaction is not there? Number one, investors are walking away from this market, like 50% down. And you think about, and I'm not talking just institutional investors. I'm talking about smaller investors, people that they own 5, 6, 10 properties. They're not buying. A lot of these people are out of the market, 50% down compared to last year. And then 1/3 of all the buyers, obviously, they're first-time buyers. And when you think about these interest rates, a lot of them are pushed away from the market because now these homes are not affordable for the first-time home buyers. The prices have gone up, the interest rates have gone up, debt service is going to be higher. So they can no longer qualify, or they feel that they step away from buying a house for a while. And as we know, there's no housing crash. We don't see foreclosures. But when you talk to consumers, because of all the headlines, it seems like people are worried about what's going to happen in the real estate market, and they have everything on pause. And when people are uncertain about the market, they just tend to wait and see what's going to happen. That's why transactions are down. So just explain a little bit that frustration in the market that we're all experiencing. I think this is important for us to pay attention. I'm not trying to just to show you some colorful charts, trying to read and understand what we need to do as agents. This is consumer confidence. Towards the end of last year, the consumer confidence in real estate and the valuation, not in the long term, but the valuation was going down. So this is the percentage of the people that thought that the prices will go down. You see that in 2021, only 20% of people thought real estate value is going to go down. Everybody else was pretty positive and bold about real estate appreciating. And that number changed in 2022. And look what's happening this year. So March, 30% believe that the prices will go down, and then jumped a little bit in April of 2023. What does it mean? We got more work to do to educate our customers. This is what they believe. They think that they still think the prices are going to go down. Here's some reality. If you look at what happened in the prices, this year with all the changes, everything we're hearing, we're still seeing price appreciation. Right, with all the inventory level that is increasing, every change in the market, 7% interest rate, we're still seeing that the prices. Yet it started going down a little bit last year after the second quarter when the rates went up. And again, consider this. This is national. We're not talking the southern markets because our market is performing totally different. But nationwide, the prices are going up again. That's what the consumers need to see. That's what we need to educate them. That, hey, this is not going to crash. if you're waiting for that moment, if you're waiting for real estate to crash and then go and buy these assets at cheaper, that's not happening. That's only going to get more expensive. Some do's and don'ts that I found on the internet. So things we need to focus on. Educate your clients and customers. Attack median price headlines. I mean, on the headlines, you're gonna hear and see that say, oh, the median price finally came down by 2%. It came down by 5%. That's what the consumer is hearing. And they're not really considering that real estate, obviously, is very local and regional. Every market is different. But even if you look at it in the country as a whole, actually seeing appreciation. Don't get stuck on the 1 month median price point. And that's what's being listed in the market. Make more prospecting calls. Calls on expired listings. I know some of you are not down that, but this is something that we need to do in this market. Farm your neighborhood, update your CRM, and have a plan for 4th of July. I mean, it's almost too late right now, but hey, you need to work on this week. Make sure we got a holiday coming in. What are you going to do? When I talk about a promotion, a flyer, neighborhood, emails, campaign, client gift, pop by, whatever you can do, it's a great opportunity to reach out to your customers and clients. And I won't say past customers, by the way. Here's some stats showing that 64.5% of people, they were more inclined to list their property after talking to an agent. So if you don't talk to them, it's not going to happen. Your odds are 65% better if you actually talk to homeowners about listing their property, understanding the market. Here's some of the don'ts. Move it in here. Okay. So I hear often talking to brokers that they're frustrated working with clients and they call them impossible, difficult clients. They're driving me crazy. They're driving me nuts. This is a time that we have to be very efficient with our time. And so we have to qualify our customers. I'm not saying give up on your clients, but you got to qualify. Don't waste your time with somebody that is not a real client just because that's the only lead you have today. Because what's going to happen, they're going to bring your energy down and they're going to take and consume all your time instead of prospecting and going for the next deal. You basically end up with nothing, no transactions. And there are different ways to identify that. You know, I don't want to make this a very long conversation, but the next update, we're going to talk about some of the things you guys should do with your client to see if they're real on the list side, on the buy side, just so you're more efficient with your time. You don't spend 6 months with somebody and walk away and say, you know, what a waste of time. Housing inventory. So the inventory is up. That's what we are hearing on the headlines. The NAR came out and said the inventory is rising in most states in the country. There are only 2 places that still the inventory is lower than what it was. This is active homes for sale in the market. South Carolina, 0.3% down, and Florida, 1.8% down. But in average, national average, the inventory level is going up 3.4%. It's still a seller's market. It's still a seller's market. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 homes to sell. Do you know how many homes we had average in 2019? Active homes in the market at any given time? 1.5. Closer to 1 million. Yep. And the highest that we had, it was in 2006, 2007, that it was close to 1.5 million. So we're nowhere close to get to that market that we can call it, oh, now it's a buyer's market. We're still at half of the inventory of what we had in 2019 and 18. This chart shows you clearly where we are. So again, it's, sorry, I'm going to have to keep moving this. See if I can move it up there. There we go. See, it's better. So we're starting at, look at almost 1 million homes for sale in 2019, and now we're about 500,000. Still a strong market. So we talked about this hot topic that we want to discuss at the beginning of the meeting. I'm going to try to go fast through this. Disruption is the word that you guys are going to hear. Tiffany is going to talk more about this. Every conference you go to, 3 years, 4 years, we keep hearing this word, disruptors in our market. What these disruptors do, they come with innovative models in the business and change the way we do business. It's not a negative word. We all heard the story about Apple, right? That how they disrupted the market. We all know about ChatGPT, right? Some of you are already using it in your business day to day, and how fast it's being adopted. But when you think about disruptors, not all of them had quick and fast adoption. Some of them got into business and slowly got that adoption and changed the way we do things. I had a couple of examples here. Whiteboard. In 1937, it took about 60 years for all the schools to replace those old chalkboards with whiteboards. 60 years. Emails. It took about 20 years for widespread use of emails. In 1971, all the way in early 90s. Right? So some of these models and I guess genius ideas to do business takes longer time. And I'm not going to waste time and talk about Best Buy and how they got out of business. Today, I want to talk about some success stories. There's actually some success stories when you think about businesses that they got disrupted and they got out of it. And with that, I want to share with you a quick personal story, because this is what I experienced personally. I think it applied to our industry. This is a picture of me. I'm really not happy in this photo. This is a long time ago, 2004, because it was 105 degrees, and I'm wearing a jacket. Okay? I'm waiting for the captain to greet him. Making long story short, it was a very hot day. My job at the time was to find my clients a means to transport a cargo from port A to B. I was in logistics and transportation. So that's all I was doing. I was finding the opportunity to move a shipment from port A to B. And then the problem was once the goods and the cargo arrived at the port, somebody had to unload it. Somebody had to take care of the rest. There was a lot more that needed to be done. This is, by the way, raw sugar. Awful. If you see it close up, then you're never going to eat sugar in your life. Dead birds, cats, everything you can imagine was there. And they had to go and scrape the sugar. You can see this is a cargo hold to get it off. Terrible, terrible. So the problem was, I was doing my job. I could find the means to transfer the goods, but once it got there was a whole new set of things that needed to be done, and that's where the ball got dropped. And so that's when the world was experiencing dealing with freight forwarders. So these companies, they didn't have any means of transportation. They were basically the supply chain engineers behind the scene. So all they were doing, they were just figuring out. I remember that my boss called me. It's like, yeah, these guys sit behind their fancy desks and computers and they don't do anything to make all the money. Some of the big companies, these guys are actually in Charlotte, Kuehne+Nagel, Schenker, Hamel Peanut. These are huge companies that they started in the 70s and 80s, but then they were very successful in the 90s and pretty much got control of the market. And the companies that they had the actual means, the trucking companies, the shipping companies, they're actually doing all the work. But these logistics and these engineers behind the scene, they control the market. Does that sound familiar a little bit about our business and what's happening in our business? The concept that we're trying to sell was one-stop shop. You come to us, we'll take care of everything. It's not just from point A to B. There's a lot more that needs to be done for any customer. And they have this concept figured out. They put out a lot of companies out of business, a good number of them. It actually happened to me. I had a client. I don't know if you guys remember this brand. I had a client that I was helping at the time, and they decided not to use me because the bags, these are jumbo bags, by the way. Each one of these bags are about 2,500 pounds. They would get their damage, and they said, well, we're going to find a freight forwarder who's going to get this in great condition. You did a good job getting it over there, but it's not making it to our factory the way that we want it. So I had to make some investigations that I figured out the trucks that are actually loading it, they're uneven and they have all these pins and this was my solution. I'm going to help you. I'm going to be a logistic partner. Fast forward, these companies that they survive in that business, they all have a logistic department. This is another side of the company. Inland solution, shipping solution, air cargo, digital, peace of mind. So those companies that they survive and now strong, they're number one, they have all these services offered. They got everything covered. It's not just moving it from A to B. Here's our success story, in my opinion. Did you guys see this headline that now Ford and Tesla, they're working together, that you can actually charge these Ford trucks at the Tesla stations? This is another innovation, another disruption that could actually put a lot of companies out of business. But the ones that they understand the change and the value, understand that they have to adapt, they're going to make it and they're going to be very strong. Tesla is not going to put Ford out of business with all their innovation. And here's where we're going to get to this quickly. This is the word that everybody is talking about because there are some changes in our marketplace, some of our market, not all of our markets. To understand Zillow and how they operate, you got to get deep into their philosophy and their business model. What do they do? How do they run their business? What are they going after? This is an investment deck you can find. It's a public company, so it's not like I have some connections that I got secret information for you. You don't see this every day, but it's very interesting. Zillow used this last year to raise more money as the market was changing. So they put this presentation in front of people that are investors. Some of them angel investors, some of them major investors. Number one real estate company portal. Yes, I mean, when you look at realtor.com, they got 63% of all the traffic. Realtor.com has only 20%. This is what they're trying to sell to their investors. A real estate transaction is very complex and it's not linear. And their point is, this is a very costly move for buyers and sellers. They're trying to get our attention. The cost for an average person that is involved in a real estate transaction is about $26,000 to $40,000. This is what Zillow is focusing on. There's inspector money, mortgage lenders, appraisals, title company, escrow, and movers. Right? So it's going to cost between $26,000 to $40,000 for a family or for a person to move. And here's I think this is the most important part of this presentation for them. They're focusing on this market entirely. The residential real estate market in this country is a $2 trillion industry. You add the value of all the homes sold. Out of this $2 trillion, there's about $300 billion of commissions and fees generated. 300 for the B. $100 billion of this $300 billion is the commissions paid to real estate agents. Where's the other $200 billion? Mortgage lenders, appraisers, right? Inspection, title companies. Zillow is not just looking at the commission, our commission, they're looking at this bigger picture. There's $300 billion of opportunity for them. So they're starting increasing customer expectation, right? That's where the innovation comes in. Better app, easy use, estimates, data and AI revolution. And then look at this, $19 billion of investment in advertising and marketing to drive and get them over there. That's what they're focusing on. And right now they're saying that their portion out of that all transactions is already $4,000, approximately $4,000. But there's more money to be made. Mortgage, seller services, closing services. This is what they're putting in front of their investors. That we're missing a lot of opportunity. And here's a projection. So look at their 2019. This Premier Agent program is what we know is like the Zillow setting zip codes and you buy impressions and you get leads. That program generated almost $1.5 billion for Zillow in 2021. And what they're expecting that program to be. Okay, so rentals is only 264. The total is $2.2 billion in 2021, which is a great year. What Zillow's goal is to get to the $5 billion. So I want to show you this number in here. 12.2 million transactions. These are customers. These are clients. Because we only sold 6 million homes. But they're looking at the buy side and the sell side. So for Zillow, in 2021, there was 12 million opportunities. And fast forward in 2023, those transactions go down. So what do you have to do? You have to figure out to get more money out of the transaction instead of doing more transactions. That's why they came to some of our markets and they said, no more premium broker program. We're going to go on Flex because Flex is much more profitable per transaction. That's what they're focusing on. But their goal is to generate that $5 billion. by 2025. And the only way to get there, there's a gap. There's a huge gap. So they made $2 billion in 2021. They want to get here, right? The premier agent only made them $1.5 billion. So where else are they going to bring that money? They have to focus on affiliates. They got to get business, mortgage, insurance, title, get to the seller leads. That's how they can do it. And Zillow is not really doing great in a hot market. I was just looking at their traffic. They see that in a cooling market, they do better. When the market is really strong, other portals are competing with them. But the market gets slower, with less transaction, this is where Zillow does really well. Obviously, they have more unique visitors than all the other websites. Here's another interesting chart. They're outpacing the market. So in first quarter of 2022, when the market was down 25%, they were only down 15%. Look at the fourth quarter of 2022, market's still down about 13%. Zillow is up. So what happened? They had a great first quarter. Their ability to outperform the market is because of two activities, right? Capturing the higher percentage of the leads in the market and generating more revenue per lead. That's their philosophy. And now they have a rival. We all hear about homes.com. I'm sure some of you got phone calls. They're going to reach out to teams first and then call agents. They want to change this business. Andy Ford is the CEO of kvCORE Group. He has made it very clear that he's going to compete with Zillow. This guy just started building a $460 million facility in Richmond, Virginia. He's got money to spend. And his valuation of his company is twice as Zillow. So he might change the game entirely. He owns all these different companies, all part of it, LoopNet, Homes.com, Van.com, biz, buy, sell for businesses. And look what he's spending on advertising. In the first quarter of 2023, he spent over $100 million in advertising. Big dollars. In one quarter. This is what Zillow spent in the whole year in 2022. So he's putting a lot of cash behind this. And his philosophy, he's called Zillow, he likes to call them Ziltors instead of realtors, saying that they're selling buyers to buyer brokers. What we're trying to sell is homes to buyers. His philosophy is totally different. He wants to work with the listing firms and the listing agents. You've got the listing, you get the leads. And here's a snapshot. This is a listing for Angela Purvis, one of our brokers in Mooresville. You're going to see the name of the agent when you go to the portal. And there won't be any opportunity to sell buy leads on this platform. Tiffany, I don't know how much time I have, but I'm going to be quick on this DOJ because Hadi mentioned something about the lawsuits that were going on. The short of it is we're dealing with a couple of different things. This is something that Hadi and Tiffany, because of their involvement with NAR in the board, probably don't want to comment on it. I decided to step out of the board and MLS last year. So it doesn't mean that I'm off the hook. So I have to be careful about what I'm sharing because we have these lawsuits going as of now. But it's just important to understand what we're dealing with. The Department of Justice last week, they basically took another step to move forward with the cases. There are two major cases that we're dealing with. One is a class action lawsuit, and the other one is this Department of Justice. They're thinking the real estate industry overall is not letting free competition. Basically, I don't share the slides so you guys can read about it. We reached a settlement in 2020, and then they walked away from the settlement in 2021, and we had a new administration. So now this case is back. The class action lawsuit that you guys hear a lot about, this is about the buyer commission. This is about the buyer agency. This may change the whole real estate industry because of the size of this claim. So as you can see, it's about $13 billion. Millions of homeowners, if they win this case, can get compensated. And it's the $13 billion of damages, potentially after triple damages, attorney fees, we're looking at $40 billion. I can tell you right now, if you put all the brokers in the United States, they don't have half of this money to pay. So the likelihood that this claim to win at the size as it is not that great. But it can change and reshape the way our industry operates. My last words, these are the things that I just want to leave you with today. Think about your value. In this market, we talk about you need to focus on one-stop shop, but also value your effort. A lot of homeowners don't know what we do, how much work we have to put in to sell their property, how much work is involved. They just see the big dollar commission. Don't assume they know. You know, there was an article with NAR that how many steps you have to take to sell a home, how many steps you've got to take when you work with a buyer. Don't take this for granted. Make sure you explain this. Stay ahead of the game of growing expectations. We talked about that. Becoming a guiding hand. You know, there's a lot more. I shared my story. You need to offer a lot more than just identifying the right house for your client. Emphasizing the home design and staging. Home design is not throwing a couple of pillows and put some artwork in there. Home design is something important that we need to invest. It means that sometimes changing fixtures, plumbing fixtures, doing things, painting rooms, what it brings at the top value for our clients. One-stop shop again, and leverage strategic partnerships. Consider when you go to listing appointments, have business partnership. You know, state attorneys, CPAs, tax advisors. Partner up with them and create a team, because real estate investment is the biggest investment anybody can make. So you don't have to do this alone. You can have a team. And that was it for today. Tiffany, you can take it away from here.
Thank you so much. We are going to start with Matt, and I'm going to share my screen for him, and we will get going. Matt, take it away. You're on mute, Matt.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Matt Herlocker with Executive Home Lending. Wanted to discuss our current rate environment. Currently, our rates are sitting for a 30-year mortgage at around 6.71%. That is a 30-year note. Your 15-year notes hovering around 6%. As you can see with this slide, much better, I guess, between November and December, where we were into low sevens, mid sevens. And the reason why, you know, rates got above 7% was inflation. So mortgage rates are tied to a 10-year treasury bond, and the bond market's arch enemy is inflation. So when inflation got up toward 9%, mortgage rate yields followed. So, you know, per this slide here, you see your average spread right now is 2.961. That's the spread between a 10-year treasury yield and then a 30-year fixed mortgage. So the lower the spread, the lower, lower the yield, lower mortgage rates. The higher yields, higher mortgage rates. So right now in 2023, we're averaging 2.961%, and at its height, 3.230. Inflation is absolutely driving that volatility in the market. When you have a spread at 2.961, that's a pretty crazy market. It's highly volatile. It almost has a roller coaster effect. You know, a lot of people get confused by the Fed increasing the Fed fund rate. You know, today's a big day. They're going to, make a decision if they're going to increase today or if they're going to sit this one out. When they do increase the Fed fund rate, that is good for mortgage rates. So every time we've seen an increase this year, mortgage rates and yields have gone down, which in turn have given us much more competitive interest rates. The funny thing is that we've had a strong labor force. So there's been times where with the volatility, we'll like yesterday, we got a great CPI report. It showed inflation had decreased to 4%, but we also had a very strong labor force, which then again drove the mortgage spread, the yields up. So it really has been a roller coaster effect. Mortgage projections. So let's go from June 2023 through the end of the year. So Q3, we're hoping to get back down into the low sixes, potentially 6%. The end of 2023, Q4, potentially get under 6%. And then really start getting somewhere first quarter 2024, second quarter 2024. And these rate averages are for, you know, Fannie or Freddie conventional loans. 5.5% would be great. If we could hit that Q2, which I feel strongly about, because the Fed's doing what they're supposed to do to bring inflation down. So the forecast for mortgage rates, you know, for your potential buyers, it's a positive conversation. Appreciation still looks good with real estate. You know, some people say that we're definitely in a recession right now. Well, real estate's great. You know, real estate's always has worked well in a recession period. If we can just get our rates under 6%, I think a lot of your on the fence buyers will start moving toward, you know, securing a home. But currently, you know, today, you know, it's 6.625%. I still think that's a competitive rate. With appreciation on real estate, you want to secure the asset. Rate, we can definitely refinance you later. You know, with the projections, it could be as soon as Q2 of 2024.
Thank you so much for giving us that update on where the interest rates are for mortgages. And we are going to turn it over to Anna to talk a little bit about sources of how you can get additional business. Anna.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good job, Matt. I think that was some informative information. I think everyone will appreciate that. So I want to touch on what Krush was talking about earlier in regards to Zillow Flex. So he gave us some nice presentations, said what was going on, at least in the Charlotte market regarding Zillow Flex. And with that, we wanted to present some information on what Max Tech powered by kvCORE can offer you guys in place of Zillow Flex. So what I want to do right now is share my screen so you guys can see what we're working with here. And by the way, if you haven't paid attention yet, go ahead and tune in right now. Okay, so we're looking at my screen here. In regards to kvCORE, this is basically what you will be able to see on your end. On the bottom left over here where it says marketplace, just like with Zillow items, as an agent, you can always add on features, just like the Premier Agent feature that many teams pay for today. So with the marketplace here in kvCORE, if we scroll down, you see a bunch of options that you have access to. The ones that I would like to highlight today are going to be the Property Boost feature, this Get Seller Leads, and Smart Social Leads. So the very first one I want to highlight is going to be the Property Boost. I have a video for us that is going to go into detail on this that I highly recommend you tune in on. But for now, let me just give you a brief overview of the three of these. So for Property Boost within kvCORE. So this is basically taking any listings that you have, and it's adding money to them, you're advertising, and you're boosting that out for the internet to see. It has a guaranteed amount of leads that it can give you. And also it is a form capture as well. So it's grabbing those leads, sending them to your website or your listing with a landing page, and basically pulling in information. That way you gain leads and they're inputted into your CRM through kvCORE. Now, I know we're probably wondering how much this stuff costs, right? So the lowest, if you boost for an open house, is $45. You can get to the highest, which is $250. And you can see the options here. The one that we will go over in the video, we're going to do a $60 lead boost for about 7 days. And it goes up to about $250 for 4 weeks of advertising. And it guarantees about 40 to 50 contacts within your database. So that is lead generation. So that is the property boost feature. I'll show us that video I'm talking about here in a moment, but let's go over the other option, which was smart social leads. This is just another option in terms of lead generation and boosting your ads. So this particular one will post out to Facebook and Instagram, and it runs as a lead carousel. So even if you don't have any listings currently, this will give you about 50 local listings within the area, and it'll run through a carousel on Facebook and on Instagram. That plan starts at about $250 a month. The next one I'd like to talk about is get seller leads. And as I say the titles of these things, these are just the titles of the features that they offer. So if you're taking notes or writing them down, we already went over property boost. We just went over get smart leads, and now we're going over get seller leads. So this get seller leads is a bit similar to property boost. However, again, if you don't have any listings, it runs at about $500 a month. It also has lead forms. It verifies contact information, and it integrates with your kvCORE as well. The difference with this one is that it uses a home valuation in order to try and entice those leads to come into you through your CRM. So now that I've gone over some of these, here's an example of what the get seller leads looks like out on the public eye. Takes them through a home valuation based on your website with kvCORE and makes them fill out information. That way they go into your CRM. So I'm going to go ahead and play that video regarding the property boost. I think this is the one that you guys will find most enticing, especially because it allows you to have a smaller budget from 45 up to about 250. And it is super, super easy, I promise. So we're going to go over that in this video here. Once it starts playing, someone just give me a thumbs up. That way I know you guys can hear it, okay?
Using the property boost feature in kvCORE. Not only is this a great tool for advertising your listings, but it also helps you gain more lead generation. And even if you don't have any current listings, you can still utilize this feature to your advantage. Let's get into it. Here is a snippet of how our current property boosts are doing at a company level. You can see our metrics at the top, but what I want to show you is the form submissions and cost per lead numbers. You can see out of the 11 ads that have ran, 156 people have filled out a form and submitted their contact info into the CRM of the agent that boosted that property. And the cost per lead is only running at $7.56. You can also see the number of impressions, clicks, and leads that come through. kvCORE does a great job of having a potential lead fill out a form, which is one of the reasons why it's so amazing at producing a quality number of leads. All right, you see the value in doing a property boost. Now let me show you how quick and easy you can actually do this. Within your account, you'll go toward the gray toolbar on the left-hand side and click listings.
Not sure if it's showing a little blurry on your guys' end. Our internet is a little spotty today. Just want to try to refresh it real quick so you guys can see it better.
Let me show you how. kvCORE does a great, amazing at producing quick and easy. You can actually do this. Within your account, you'll go toward the gray toolbar on the left-hand side and click listings. Then you're going to find the listing that you would like to boost. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the option that says boost property with a little rocket icon next to it. Here we have the options to select a boosting type. Then we'll preview the ad and choose which boosting we'd like. Then we'll choose pricing and put in our billing information, and lastly, pay and complete the checkout. Going back up to the top, one of the boosting types that you can choose is listing, open house, price reduced, or sold. I'm going to stick with listing here and scroll down to the next section. You can select a new photo other than the first one that MLS pulls in by clicking select new image and choosing from the options here. And you can display price. So if we look on the right-hand side, this is a preview of our ad. If I choose to display price, you can see that price does come at the top right here. You can also display an image overlay. Just listed ribbon added on the image. I'm going to go ahead and take that off for now. You can see that amongst these details, you do not have access to editing the caption or details section of the advertisement here, as kvCORE has curated a caption for you that they know will work. This is how the advertisement will look on a mobile device. However, if I want to see how it looks on a desktop, I can click on the little icon right here and it'll show me that version. Keep in mind that this advertising you can see is specifically to the Facebook platform. Continuing on, you can see I can add a website, and this website is going to be used when someone clicks on your ad. So you'll click on the drop down here where it says default site and type in your name to find your website. It says this boost will send traffic to your website URL here. This is going to try and make sure that the lead is filling out a form. That way it can capture the contact information and direct it into your CRM. Then the targeting. It says with smart auto targeting, your listing and advertise in and around its location. You can change your targeting to advertise in another city by clicking on this button here. You can also add compliance text, and something really cool is you can add seller information. It says here, we'll keep the seller up to date and remind them of how much value you're providing. Enter their email and or phone, and we'll send them a daily update of impressions and clicks on their property. And you can see a preview of the email. Right here is what it's going to look like. Pretty cool. Now, if we continue on scrolling down, it says the smallest option it wants is $60, and it will run the ad for a week. The ad will be seen up to 2,000 times, and it will add about 12 to 16 contacts within your database. So this is a great way to boost your lead generation. The other options over here, and the highest will add 40 to 50 contacts within your database. As I continue to scroll down, this is where you'll enter in billing information, card information, and you will complete the checkout. You'll then see, thank you, your order has been confirmed, and you'll receive an email saying your property has been boosted, and your seller will start to receive those text messages each day that passes, which tells them how their property is performing online. Once the ad has run its course, you'll receive an email that the property boost has ended, along with the summary and how that ad performed. As you can see here, a total number of 1,523 impressions and 16 leads is pretty impressive for us just running the ad for 7 days and only spending $60. And guess what? Now all of those 16 leads have gone into our CRM for us to nurture. So whether you have a current listing or not, you can always ask a fellow RE/MAX executive agent if they're okay with you boosting one of their listings. That way, even if you are dry on listings, you'll still have a chance to gain buyer leads and help a fellow agent out at the same time.
That is going over a, property boost. So I hope that gave you guys a little summary of what you can do in terms of Zillow Flex, kind of interrupting our markets today. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Tiffany, I'll leave it off to you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you sticking around and listening to information that we have found as we are going across the country to different conferences. We have gone to T360 Summit. I've gone to the NAR Summit. We've had a Canopy Summit here, and I'm getting ready to go to Gathering of Eagles, and just want to share a little bit of what we're seeing. I mean, disruption is relative. When you look at the market, it's helping you get better with your job, giving the consumer more options, and it's up to us to figure out how to get those options going. So when you look at transaction sides and you look at what's happened from 2017 to 2022, large brokerages have outpaced the competition. And when you look at the numbers, negative 8.7 for all transaction sides going from 2017 to the end of 2022. The top 10 brokerages, though, have gained 48.4% more transaction sides over time. So when you think about the smaller firms, they're losing out while the bigger firms are doing more business. And then the top 1,000 brokerages account for 61.2% of our sales volume. So being with RE/MAX and the referral opportunities and that brand makes a difference when you're looking at the national stats that we saw at T360 Summit. Large brokerage companies change in sales volume. It has grown 33,500% since the late 1980s, 2.2 billion. That's actually less than what we did as a firm last year, up to 737 billion at the end of 2021. RE/MAX and as well as real estate technology has changed. When you look at what happened in the 70s, we had MLS listing books, paper, MLS newspapers, those types of things. And as we span over the decades, in the 2000s, we started having IDX portals, and a lot of us started syndicating listings and doing things. And that's when things changed for real estate. And that's when other markets started looking at our marketplace. But today, to keep up with technology, you've got to focus on AI searches, transaction automation, market predictions, AI generated leads, smart CRMs, and autonomous advertising. Those are the things that are happening. So in the late 70s, there were rainmakers everywhere. In the 1970s to 2000s, groups started partners. And then in the 2000s to today, a lot of us started saying, you want fries with that. And that's not who we are. That's not who RE/MAX is. When we saw our value proposition erode by pushing listings out everywhere, we've got to dig deeper and figure out how we make that value proposition to our clients, because our clients aren't always just looking for one way to sell their property. They could be looking for others. And that's what we do as companies. We are not a commodified industry if we don't want to be. As an individual agent, you've got to look at what your buyer and your seller want. This shows you the happiness level of buyers and sellers. When you look at this curve, sellers are least happy when they're waiting for an offer. Buyers are most happy when they are actually getting that offer done, and then it transitions around. And so we've got to figure out how to make clients happy and wow them across the board here. We've got Open Door. We've got other people coming in, and they're looking at the pain points in the transaction and saying, how do we make a difference? And so that's why we've got to look at opportunities all the way around. iBuyers are not going away is what I've seen. They're finding ways and solutions. You think about Zillow and how they're coming back around. OfferPad, all of the groups are finding ways to stay. And one of the reasons they are is because if you ask yourself, how many of you would list your own home with more than 50% of the agents in your marketplace? The resounding number at any conference I've been to is most of you wouldn't list them with 50%. As Karush said, we've got a number of industries that were disrupted. And as we look at those disruptions, some make a difference and make it out, others don't. The video station, which was the first video group, didn't make it out. Blockbuster, there's one left. Netflix, on the other hand, did make it out. 1997, they were rentals by mail. Then they became a subscription service, and then they became a streaming service. It goes to how you create yourself and how you add that value. So how do you bring value? What do people need is first thing. Then how can we help them? And then finally, how do we bring that wow? Technology is not necessarily the solution, but it is a way to help get there. So you've got to think about that customer experience. That's key. So what do people need? This is Girl Scout cookies in front of a dispensary out in Chicago. You've got to figure out what people need. Do they need Girl Scout cookies, which there are people there, or they need the dispensary? When you think of how you are projecting yourself, a quick CMA is probably not the right tool today doing this. Most people wanted value instantaneously, and that's how Zillow got to where they are. Orange Theory, UPS, and Grub, they all created businesses to figure out how to serve the local market. Industry incumbents, Open Door, Angie's List, those are people that were there. When you look at needs people have, people didn't know they needed wheels on suitcases until it was created. Starbucks, people didn't know they needed $8 coffee until Starbucks came around. Costco, you didn't know you needed all those big ticket items. You certainly didn't know you needed an iPhone or Facebook years ago. So this is just telling you, as things change, you've got to find ways to find the solution for people, and you've got to brainstorm that. So fill in the blank here. I just started working with a new client and she needs a lot of help because she's a first-time home. Most of you are probably saying buyers. What about home sellers? How can you help first-time home sellers? Part two, how can I help them? What is the Disney way? Most of the time when you think of stuff, you think, how can we clean the windows as soon as they get dirty? But you got to really think of it from a perspective of the windows never get dirty. How do you do that? How do you delight your clients? Starbucks refills all of their milks constantly, so it never runs out. San Francisco Bridge is painted constantly so that it's never looking bad. Some of these companies went by the wayside. You've got to develop checklists. You've got to provide yourself with best practices, be simple, clear. You've got to automate when possible and continuously update your processes. This is a home detailing checklist. You've got to codify your checklist, just like Scully did so that he could land the plane and have all of his passengers safely. You've got to come up with processes that make a difference in your client's life. You want to make sure you're not making mistakes and tracking your progress. Think about what you can do checklist-wise to make a difference in what you do in your daily business. Things that I see all the time are checklists for walkthrough, staging checklists, listing checklists, contract to close checklists. You got to figure out how to bring that wow. And as you do it, you got to think about someone's wedding day. Equate that to when they are buying and selling, that emotional feel. You've got to make that the perfect day. You got to develop protocols so that you eliminate errors. This famous rock band from the 80s and 90s, they always said, we want a bowl of M&Ms and we don't want brown M&Ms in it. The reason why is they could walk in and see if all of their gears and harness were set up right so they could fly through the sky and have all the pyrotechnics. If they saw a brown M&M in the piece, they knew that they needed to check it out. If it was perfect here, they realized they didn't have to make that many changes. So you need to figure out what your system needs to be to do that. And creating the action plans and ways to do that to delight your clients is the key. Magic wow. You've got to create a protocol so that you've read their minds. What are you doing repetitively? What's going to wow your client? Those are the things that make a difference in today's business as you see disruptors. Some of the things that I've seen out there are closing day move-in packages with toilet paper and paper towels and box cutters, post-listing and post-call follow-ups by management and listing agents, quarterly check-ins, annual closing gifts, annual birthday cards. How do you whimsically make a difference and frivolously flourish things? Do company swag gifts. Create dinner groups amongst your clients and friends and take them to the top new places. Create client outings like to a baseball game. Personalize your closing gifts and find holiday treats that you can share. Conclusion, you need to be creating opportunities to be great. There are plenty of opportunities in the transaction, before the transaction, and after the transaction to make a difference in your client's life. I've got a ton more slides, but since I always have myself at the end so that we can get finished on time and we're running late, I'm going to click through slides because I want to remind you of a couple of things real quick. So this is our new affiliated business arrangements disclosure form. If you have not seen it yet, it is in SkySlope Forms. I have a link to it in the real estate agent portal. Please make sure you're using it. It is the up-to-date form that will keep us in compliance. And then, let's see. If you haven't used OpCity or Prime Street lately, I suggest getting in touch with Angela. And the reason I say that and the reason I have roses around is because their leads are smelling more like roses than they ever have with the prices. So if you're looking for another niche or another pillar in your marketing, OpCity and Prime Street's the way to go. So check that out. We appreciate you guys, and I will continue with my information on ways to delight customers and wow customers at another time. But we wanted to say thank you for being here. We appreciate it. If you are in the Ballantyne office, our new insurance person, Angie, is in the lobby, and we would love to connect you with her and let you learn more about her today. Again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And remember, we have our company update live and hybrid coming up in July. So look for that date and time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Everyone.